Okay, so I made a video the other day and I was talking about placement matches. We had brought some people in from Discord, and I was really surprised to see how many people felt completely different about placement matches. And over the last couple of days since that video, I've been seeing a lot of people talking about different things in regards to the placements and how they feel like they're not very fair and how people are throwing their matches and selling more in placement matches. And I think that that can partially be true, but I also think that there's another side to it. I think a lot of it is that people have a lot of ego and pride. But let's talk about it. YouTube, what's going on, man? It's Father Dark here on a beautiful, I don't know what today is. Today Wednesday? Yeah, what, Wednesday? Yeah, today's Wednesday. Okay, yeah, I'm here on a beautiful Wednesday afternoon. Hope everybody's having a great week. We're at hump day now, halfway through the week, almost there to the weekend. I actually did. I talked about it in my last video, but I told you all after I did my placement matches on PC, which I won, what, 7 out of 10 of those and got placed into, what, gold or something, which made sense because I didn't play rank last season. I think I was like silver 3, just played a handful of matches just to get up to gold, just so that I would get whatever the gold skins were, and then didn't play. I was too busy playing like Battlefield and Arc Raiders and stuff like that. And when I was playing Rivals, I was only playing to get Iron Man and a few other characters lured that I wanted to get lured, but I was playing pretty much in quick play. And just to get footage for videos and stuff where we were talking about leaks and different things like that. Point is that the placement matches on PC went like pretty much how I expected. I didn't really expect to win more than like 7 out of 10. That's to me, that's a lot, especially with the way the matchmaking goes and all the different variables of having teammates and stuff and all the different team comps and stuff like that. And especially with the fact that I feel like as warmed up with Rivals as I could have been overall, like, compared to when I'm just kind of like no lifing this game. But I had been taking a lot of time away to play other games and stuff like that. So had got a bit rusty overall. Point I'm making is that I told you that once I got done with the PC placements, I was going to go and do a console run. I haven't done one of those in a while. And I had been hearing a lot of people say that things have been changing on console as far as people getting more comfortable using like BP and using hit scan and stuff like that, which I did notice a few of those things. But overall, though, the experience pretty much seemed the same for me in regards to going from PC to console. It always seems like it's a little bit easier for me on console. Now, there could be multiple factors that go into this. First being that I am a controller player. I don't play on mouse and keyboard unless it's kind of like games where it's just not comparable at all to play, where you have to use some second type of, input or translator for the controller. But if there's any means for me to just plug a controller in, I'm 9 times out of 10 going to just play a controller. I've been doing that for 3 decades now. I've been around since the days of Sega Genesis. So it's just not normal for me to want to use a keyboard and mouse to play any type of competitive game. I just would prefer to play a controller. But with a game like this, that's a lot different from a lot of other games where they do have a lot more aim assist. When you start getting to certain ranks, you're going to start to kind of notice that skill gap where you have keyboard and mouse players, very strong keyboard and mouse players versus controller players. So I think that that's a big part of it is with the console. I do think that there is a bit more aim assist. Now, there's people that disagree and they say, oh, it's the same exact thing. It's in the code. I might actually bring someone in, I don't know, but I might actually bring someone in who was talking about this the other day in our Discord who plays on console predominantly. He was saying that the aim assist and stuff is the same across the board. But for me, whenever I get on console, it immediately feels different. It's not even a thing where I assumed that there was any difference. It just, I feel it right away where it's like, oh, this feels like actual aim assist. Whereas on PC, it really feels non-existent. Like it's a little bit there, but it's not like, even if there is aim assist, I feel like they're doing something differently than like what other games would do, right? Like it's really just more manually, you aiming, which is doable. There are people that play on controller that are very, very good at the game. I'm not saying that it's impossible. It's just that obviously if you're trying to do stuff like hit scan and pulling people off the map as Spider-Man and making these 180 turns as BP, these are things that are a lot harder to do and take a lot more time and practice and skill and muscle memory building than if you were to try to do them on keyboard and mouse. Point I'm making is that when I played on console, I actually won, 9 out of 10 of my games. Now I'm going to put up a little video here to show kind of like, in the background, the history of my console account so you can see. But pretty much any time that I've played console, it's always been a situation where I have like a 95% win rate. I really don't struggle. Every now and again, it's like EOMM is gonna kick in to some extent. Guang Guang ain't gonna let you sit here and get 20 games off in a row and win. Eventually, he's gonna put you on these teams where you're going to have people that just they loaded in to sell. Their names are literally EOMM agent 437 or whatever the case is. Like you're gonna have that, and there is nobody. I don't care how good they are. I don't care. You think of your favorite player, best pro pro player, whatever, if you were to check their history, they lose games sometimes. That's gonna happen. But the thing is that players that have a certain level of skill, they're always going to get past a certain point, right? And that's just something that is consistent. And before we even get into that too, one other thing that I want to say is that Invisible Woman right now, if you're not using Invisible Woman, I feel like you're just selling. I know there's a lot of people out there that feel like Gambit is just that guy, and he very well could be, right? I'm not saying that Gambit is. I haven't played Gambit yet. I'm taking my time simply because I don't want to play a character where I have to fight over. I'm going to have people selling the matches if they can't load in and get them. Usually, you just give them a few days to get it out of their system, and then people will move back to their comfort characters, right? The people that they know really, really well and stuff like that. Or they'll just get tired of using that character and move on to something else, especially with him predominantly being a support player. I know a lot of people are picking him as a DPS and just going full on DPS, which is why we're actually seeing more, I feel like, triple support than we were seeing before, because even myself included, there was a time the other day where I was like, oh, we have no supports. And I was literally seeing the Gambit on our team. And it wasn't until a few minutes later I was like, oh, wait a second, Gambit is a support as well. Like, for some reason in my head, it's like I just see him as a DPS. And I have no problem with, having two main supports and an off support or whatever. But the thing is that Gambit actually, there's been a lot of times where I've seen him get higher healing than me when I played Cloak and Dagger or Invis and have damn near the same amount of eliminations and stuff like that. So he does have the potential to be like an actual full-on healer. It's not like a Mantis or an Ultron or something where he's just meant to be like this, this off support, more of a DPS or something. He's actually this really, really good hybrid, but instead of it being like how you usually get the trade-offs with hybrids, I feel like he's just good at all of that stuff. So it just depends on how the person themselves, like the player, wants to utilize the character. Point that I was making though is that I loved Invis since she came out. And for those who don't like it, Sue Storm, Invis. A lot of people call her Invis. A lot of people call her Sue Storm. Whatever. Who cares? Point I'm making, though, is that when she first came out, I really enjoyed Sue. I felt like she was a great support. My only gripe with her was that she didn't have a way to heal herself while fighting. The only way you could heal yourself was to go invisible. Now, when she goes invisible, two things happen. One, it takes very long for her to heal. It's a very slow healing process. I think you'd have to be invisible for like 15 seconds. Maybe I'm taking a rough guess here, but that's just, based off, me playing her and stuff. It seems like right around like 15 seconds for you to go from being really weak to being fully healed, right? Whereas with her shield heals very, very quickly. But the trade-off with the shield is that the shield only has like 300 HP or something. It might be more or less. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. What I'm making though is that I had said early on, I was like, she needs some type of way to heal herself where she can stay in the fight, just like where you have a Luna who can press a button and start healing herself while also doing damage. Cloak and Dagger can put a bubble down that can heal multiple people that's actually indestructible. And I get the trade-off because Cloak and Dagger does far less damage, and even when she is in her damage form, she can't heal as well. So there's like that trade-off there, and I'm all for that. I'm all for there being trade-offs to things so that they're fair, and there's not one character that just seems more broken than the other. But Invis, though, right now, actually broken. Like, the fact that she can put the shield on herself and for people that are smart enough to do it in areas where it's not going to get broken, like, for example, if you're around a corner, kind of like in the gameplay that you should be seeing in the background was like, I think, my last placement match. And this one was just a steamroll. This team just didn't really even know what to do. I think they ended up surrendering, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe they didn't surrender. Maybe we just beat them. But there was numerous times where I was playing Invis yesterday and the teams just surrendered because it was like, what are we doing? The fact that you can be as aggressive as you want with her, you can hold off spaces with her psionic orb and stuff like that. Like if people are trying to come around the corner, you can throw that orb out there. And a lot of people, like lower skill players, they're going to be deterred from even wanting to like step into that. So you can kind of like control these little spaces and stuff. Not to mention, like I was saying about yourself, when you're around a corner yourself, you just put that shield down and you have a permanent, it's not like Cloak and Dagger where the bubble lasts for a period of time. You have a permanent like healing shield and other people can stand next to it as well and be healed. It's not like it's just for you. So it's just ridiculous. And the thing is that even if you do get into a sticky situation, you can just go invisible. Like, I don't really know why you'd want to use anyone else. I've really not died that much with Invis. If you were to look back at my record, especially because I really wasn't using her as much when I first did like the PC placements. I was using Cloak and Dagger more just because a lot of people were not wanting to play support outside of Gambit. A lot of people were either playing tank or DPS. Good to see tank players are back and whatnot. But the point, that I was trying to get to is that when I did the PC run, was playing Cloak and Dagger. When I went to console, I was like, you know what? Let me give Sue a try since she was one of my original favorite healers, and I kind of took a break from her, and really couldn't find a reason to want to play anyone else. I felt like I didn't even need to play DPS a lot of times. There were times where I might be playing a tank, and we had two tanks, and I was like, you know what? Let me just swap over to Invis really quick and just go ham with her. Right. And really wasn't even having to do a whole lot of healing, was just really just fighting with her like normally. So, that's just me personally. I feel like Invis this season is the GOAT. But getting back into what I was originally talking about is like with placements and stuff like that. A lot of people that I've been seeing have been saying like, oh, well, I just keep getting these teammates that are throwing, and I'm in this position, I'm only at this rank because it was the matchmaking and all that kind of stuff, and they need to look at it from individual, what you did individually and all this, just so many different things, right? And right around that time yesterday, I was talking to a friend of mine, and this is a friend of mine that just started playing the game not too long ago. I mean, it's been like since season 3, but they only get to play when they get to play, et cetera, et cetera. So like they're a bronze level player, and we were talking about something in regards to rank, and they were saying, "Oh, well, I'm only in bronze because of the teammates that I keep getting." And I kind of laughed a little bit, because the thing is like I wasn't laughing at them. It was more like laughing at the thought, because you're able to like look back. For me specifically, I don't know about other people, because a lot of you have had hero shooter experience prior to this. With me coming from all the other games I played, I was not dependent in a lot of those games on my teammates. Now, if you're playing a team game, there's going to be like, let's say you're playing Warzone, for example. You might be down, and maybe you have to hope that your teammates are smart enough to be able to win the 2v1 again. You maybe you're down the other two people, and they got to win the 2v1, or they're going to be smart enough if you're out in an open area to throw smokes on you and res you, or be able to buy you back if you get fully deleted, or whatever the case is, right? But it's not the same as when you're playing a hero shooter, because you can't do everything by yourself. In games like Call of Duty, you don't need someone to heal you. You don't need someone to resupply your ammo. You don't need a tank to create space and all of this stuff. Everyone is equally on par. And especially once you start bringing in like the loadout situation, where you can choose your loadout, once you get to a certain skill level, everyone's going to be using the same exact loadout. So 9 times out of 10, you're going to have the same perks, the same main weapon, secondary, smokes and nades and all that kind of stuff that the enemy is going to have. Where in this game, you can be the best support on the planet, but if your DPS aren't deleting anything, your tanks aren't deleting anything, you're just SOL, right? And the thing about it is that there's levels to it. So like when I first started playing this game, this was like really the first time I really locked in on a hero shooter. I played Overwatch a little bit, but it was really casual, like extreme, as casual as you can play a game. And only because friends and family members, that was what they played. So it was the only thing that we could kind of like play together that they actually enjoyed. And I just kind of made that, that sacrifice for them or whatever. So the thing is that when I actually started playing Rivals, I had a lot to learn that was just kind of common knowledge to a lot of other people in regards to how roles work and how different things should be. And like, for example, when I first started playing rank, I thought, well, if I'm playing support, right, and I'm just healing someone, and I'm doing more healing than the enemy team is doing, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. That's the only thing I need to do. And if no one else, if the person I'm healing isn't able to delete the other person, well, that's not my fault. It's not anything that I could be doing differently or that I should be doing differently. It's just all I have to do is blame this person. And I was stuck in bronze for a couple of weeks because I had to learn that as a support, sometimes, well, in this game, it's a strategist. And that's the perfect word for it, because let me give you an example. There was a time where we had deleted everybody else. We were on a point. We had to secure this point, and it's my Thor versus another Thor. Right? There's nobody else around. They didn't have a healer. They didn't have another DPS, another tank, nothing. It was just this Thor. It was me and my Thor. They're battling it out. Right? Point blank range. I can see both of their health bars. I'm just spamming heals on my Thor. I put a bubble on him. I'd hit him with the light shield or whatever, was just spamming heals into him. Somehow he was missing hitting the enemy Thor at point blank range, but the enemy Thor wasn't missing. So my Thor is losing health while being healed actively, spammed heals, and the enemy Thor is not losing any health. So eventually I just got irritated and blinded the enemy Thor and then deleted him. And then I just looked at the Thor and he looked at me like, kind of like this look of embarrassment, but in the game, right? You can just feel it, right? Like, oh man, you had to come up and help me. I was kind of struggling there. I don't know if he was panicking or what. I don't know how you miss someone when you're playing a character where you have to be point blank to hit them. It's not like you're playing Hella or something and you're having to shoot someone from a distance and they're moving around and they got a small hitbox. You are point blank with another tank and you're somehow missing. Don't know, don't care, doesn't matter. The point is that as a strategist, you have to learn that it is up to you to decide if you're going to sit here and keep spamming heals into your teammates or if you're going to help them. There are so many times in matches where the enemy team has all these heals, but they're like the Cloak and Dagger might have 35,000 heals, right? But they're 2 and 3 with like 4 assists or something like that, right? Let's just say that. Then me, on the other hand, I'm 23 and 1 with like 30 assists and half of their healing. There's a difference here, right? And I say it all the time to people on this channel. If you're new here, one of my favorite expressions that a buddy of mine told me early on is that dead people don't do damage. It's just that simple. You don't need to spam heals into someone if the enemy is not alive to do any damage to them. It's just that simple. And I see stuff like this all the time. That's just one example, right? But I see stuff like this all the time where people will practice over and over. They play this game every single day, but they do the same exact thing and they expect something to be different. There's a word for that. It's called insanity. When you do the same, if my door to my office is closed right now and I just keep walking into the door and expecting that the door should open itself instead of taking the time to stop walking into it and just open the door up and then walk through it, that's insanity. And a lot of you seem to not get this and understand it. And the thing is that I fully understand, because I have to be honest here. I told you guys in the beginning. Now, if you're new here, I've said this before. If you're not new here, I'll say it again. I'm not going to lie to you all. Even when I say something with my whole chest, I'm not going to sit here and just defend that. And then once I learn new information, walk away from that and never bring it back up again. When I first started posting Rivals content, a lot of people were saying, you're not going to deserve to get out of the rank that you're in until you learn how to carry in that rank. And at first that made no sense to me, because in my head, this is a team-based game. So why should I have to be able to carry to get to the next rank? Shouldn't my teammates all just be kind of like in the same skill level, and then we should be able to get to the next rank? That is, sometimes in life, things may not make sense. I don't need to understand why a lot of people do the things that they do. People do really weird, crazy stuff every day. And I don't need to really understand why a person does crazy, weird stuff every day, or why certain things in life just work. I just need to know that they just work. Now, it is nice to be able to understand from a psychological point, or to have context on like, oh, well, this person's performing poorly because maybe they had maybe their dog passed away or something. So it's like causing them to be distracted or whatever. That's cool, but I don't need to know that this Bucky is going negative. Therefore, I have to pick up the slack of the Bucky. I can't just keep spamming heals into the Bucky. I now need to just go ahead and say F it and do it myself and walk up and delete the person that is giving us a hard time. Things like target prioritization, knowing who to focus. If you're looking at the board and you see that there's a Hela, and this Hela she's 14-0, and the rest of the people have like 6 or less eliminations, who do you think needs to be prioritized here? Right? You ever had a game where you were carrying and then you die and then everything just crumbles? Well, the enemy team was smart. They got you out of the way. Once you were out of the way, everything kind of crumbled. Right? It's kind of like those movies where you see there's like a war or something and they take out like the general or something, and then everybody's just like, oh, fall back. They took it. Or better example is like a lot of times, remember like the old movies where the king would actually go to war with the people and they take out the king, and then everybody just kind of retreated because they just took out the king. You know, that's kind of how like this game works. And this is what I was talking to my buddy about. I was telling him, I was like, there's never been a time since I learned how to get out of bronze that I've ever been stuck in bronze. There's never been a time since I learned how to get out of silver that I've ever been stuck in silver. No rank that I've learned how to get out of have I ever been stuck in that rank. Now, once you reach your skill ceiling, which on PC for me, that's been Plat 1. Whenever I get up to Plat 1 and they start throwing a couple of diamond players in PC into my lobbies, that's where I'm like, okay, whether it's like the controller situation and they're using keyboard and mouse, or it's just like there's something I haven't learned or adapted in some way to where I'm not able to get to that next level, doesn't matter. Point is that that's where I get to, and that is my ceiling. Now, I said it doesn't matter, but it does kind of matter, because you have to be able to be honest with yourself and identify what is it that these other people are able to do that I'm not able to do. Can't always just blame it on other people and say, well, if it wasn't for my teammates, I would have been out of this rank already. What is that going to help you with? See, with me in life, I was raised to be a leader and not a follower, right? My parents were very adamant about that. My mother was very adamant about it. My father was a Marine, so it wasn't even going to be a question of if you're going to choose to, follow your own path in life or get behind other people and do what they do. And part of being a leader is coming up with solutions, not problems. See, a lot of people, they just sit back and they just complain. But then you'll try this in the future when people do this. Say, well, what would be a solution in your opinion? And watch how quiet people get. People will sit around and complain all day long, but very rarely do they actually provide solutions. And you can just spam solutions, but how many of those solutions are actually going to work though? Is it really a solution if it does nothing, right? And that's the thing is that me sitting around complaining about my teammates does not help me. If I would have sat around and complained in bronze and said, well, if my teammates would have done this, if the Spider-Man wouldn't have went negative, if this person would have done this, I would have won. That doesn't help me. Now, I know what a lot of people are going to say. Well, you lose games too, or they're not games where you couldn't have, there was just nothing you could do. Yes. For example, on console, pretty much every game on console that I did in my placement matches yesterday, I was carrying as a support. Now, the thing is, though, is that these are lower ranks because I hadn't played on my console since the last time that I did a console run, which would have been back like, this was before I went to the beach this summer. So it would have been like at the beginning of the summer, right? I don't like playing on my console. I only do this kind of like as an experiment for a lot of you all, something that a lot of people used to ask for. And every so many months, I'll come back and revisit it. But my console pretty much sits here as a paperweight until GTA comes out because they're not going to have it on PC. But it pretty much sits here as a paperweight, a glorified paperweight, right? I was carrying in most of these matches, right? But then we had one match where I loaded in, and I've been playing this game long enough where I can just kind of tell. We loaded in, somebody insta-locked Cloak and Dagger. This person did not seem like somebody who had just started playing the game. They didn't have Lord on Cloak and Dagger. They insta-locked Cloak and Dagger, didn't have Lord on it. And personally, anytime I've ever seen someone insta-lock Cloak and Dagger who doesn't have a brand new account or something, and they don't have the character Lord, it never turns out well. Then we had somebody insta-lock Gambit, which I didn't have a problem with because that can go kind of either way. Then nobody wanted to play tank. Everybody else locked DPS. And I could just kind of tell like by the setup and the way that it just initially went down. I was like, this is the one Guang sent me right here. This is going to be the one. We go out to the point. There's immediately a thing and a Hulk. And this Hulk was literally juggling me. I was playing Emma. And there was a time where he went to go hit me. And whatever combo he was doing, there was nothing I could do. It never stopped. From the time that it started to the time that I was dead, I was full health. He completely eliminated me as a tank, full health. I look back, my supports are literally running around the corner. They hadn't even been hit with anything yet. They're just like, oh no, another person, let me get out of here. The Gambit I don't know if he was like purposely trying to throw or something or what he was doing, but he was just standing around corners, and I would walk over to him and look at him, and then he would try to kind of walk out behind me like he was coming, but then I would turn around and I would see him go back around the corner. So I don't really know what was going on with him or what the case was. Point I'm making is that the team I was going against was fully locked in, knew their characters, was ready to go, was about that life. My team was not at all ready for any type of anything. I'm really surprised as to like how they even have played the game before, being afraid to just even be in the vicinity of other people, like enemies and stuff like that. Because like I said, they would just run without even taking damage. It was a very weird match. And I just knew, I was like, listen, there's no way the Guang was going to let me win 10 out of 10 matches. That's just not going to happen. So there had to be one where there was just, have fun, whatever. You're probably going to lose this, but keep it pushing. All the other ones, though, even if it seemed like, in the beginning something was going wrong or whatever, I would swap to something that could kind of give us some type of way to make space or at least get out of spawn or whatever. And then once other people saw that I was kind of leading the charge, they kicked in and it just became a situation where every match was a steamroll after that, right? And that's how it can be most of the times. But you have to be that change that you want to see, though. You can't always just sit back and wait on your team to do everything and stuff. A lot of times, other people are waiting on you to be the person that is going to kind of like lead the charge, because most people are not leaders. Most of them are followers. There's always far less wolves than there are sheep. That's just how the world works. Honestly, I don't think it would be a very fun place if everybody was the one always trying to lead the charge and stuff. There would be no one to lead at that point. Everybody would just be leaders. Right. So there naturally needs to be a balance to things and stuff. But like I said, ultimately, you sitting back blaming your teammates for everything is never going to help you. It's not. And like I said, there are times where they've genuinely done things that they shouldn't do. But you have to ask yourself something. Can you control the other person? And if the answer is no, which it is, then what is complaining about it gonna help? I mean, doesn't that get tiring after a while? And like I said, I fully understand. When I started this channel, I started by saying EOMM is doing this. And look at the teammates I'm getting. Oh, we got this Iron Man in the sky and nobody's deleting. Oh, we got this happening and blah, blah, blah. And at the time, I didn't realize how much I didn't know about this game. There were so many things that if I would have known how to do all the stuff that I know how to do now, none of these things would have been complaints from me. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with growing and learning things over time. When we're children, learning our ABCs is very hard until we learn our ABCs. And then it's something that you can do without even thinking about it. A lot of people know how to say them backwards. You can start at a random place and start doing it. Then you go up, you start doing multiplication. That's hard. It seems almost impossible, right? Do you think about it nowadays? Not really. I mean, I'm sure we all have a couple that, maybe like 9 times 7 or something. Maybe that's like hard for you off the top of the dome. You got to think about it for a second. But for the most part, though, you know these things. And that's pretty much like an analogy for how life is. There's always going to be stuff that you start doing that you go, oh, well, this seems complicated at first. And then if you keep working and you get past that level, all of a sudden that no longer seems like an issue. Just like when I was in bronze and it was hard. I felt like I was constantly getting dove and I didn't know how to do this or what the counter was to this or even that there was a thing called a counter. Didn't understand any of that. It was, why isn't everybody peeling for me? Why isn't everybody helping me? To the point where I started realizing, oh, wait a second. I can actually fight back. I have tools at my disposal. Let me start watching other people that are better than myself, taking advice, putting my ego and my pride aside and saying, is there something else that I could be doing versus what could the other person be doing? Once you leave a match with that person, you're more than likely not going to see them again for a while if you ever see them again. And there's exceptions. There's some days where I've seen the same person over and over again. That's why we have an avoid list. You put them on that avoid list if they're just that bad. And that's exactly what I did after that one game. And you know what? Didn't have an issue after that. Once again, not saying that these are perfect solutions and that they fix everything. What I am saying, though, is that you are always going to get further when you worry about you and what you could be doing versus worrying about what everyone else should be doing. And if you feel like there's something that people aren't doing, like, for example, with me, personally, I know a lot of people disagree, but I feel like support is one of the most important things in the game, especially currently, because supports are they're not weak. You can fight back. A lot of times, you're more of a problem than the actual DPS in a lot of situations. Take Invis, for example. One little small change, like her being able to put a shield on herself. You know how many things that stopped? Spider-Man, Magic, Daredevil, BP. You're talking about the majority of the dive now are it's extremely hard for them to dive you the way that they've been used to because you can just pop a shield on yourself and just keep running around the shield. You're constantly being healed while they're constantly taking damage and aren't being healed because more than likely they're diving you in the back line and it's kind of hard to heal people that are all the way in the back line. So even if you don't delete them, they have to kind of back off. Cloak and Dagger, you can literally just fade out and put a bubble on yourself that is invincible that usually heals you faster than other people are going to be able to delete you. I mean, with a lot of people, man, it's just as simple as a lot of people load in this game every day and you got to think about it like practicing, right? Practicing is only beneficial if you're practicing correctly. When I was younger and I first started trying to work out and stuff like that, like first got in middle school, I was trying to, let me do some push-ups and some sit-ups and lift some weights and stuff and kind of, get muscular and all that kind of stuff. I remember I was doing some push-ups one day and my dad was watching me and he goes, hey, you're only like doing like half the push-up, right? You're supposed to go like all the way down to where pretty much like your nose almost touches the floor, right? Not all the way, but pretty much. And, he was explaining to me, he was like, if let's say you do 200 push-ups a day, right? In sets of like 20 or 25. If you're doing them incorrectly, you basically did no push-ups at all. Then let's say you only do 10 push-ups, but you do them correctly. That's more beneficial than doing 1,000 of them incorrectly. And it's the same thing in this game. If you're not honest enough with yourself to go back and look at gameplay and say, what could I have done differently? Am I the one that's making mistakes as well? You'll find that the less mistakes you start making, the better you get at the game. You guys don't hear me complaining anymore, really, and saying like, every now and again I vent, I crash out and talk about different stuff that people do, but that's just me kind of more venting. There's a big difference between like you venting about something versus you actually making it to where it's like, well, I would be here or I would have this if it wasn't for this person. No, the people that want something bad enough are going to figure out how to make it work. It's just that simple. And it's not just in video games. This is in life. Anything that I've ever truly wanted, ain't nothing or no one that's ever held me back. I know plenty of people, you talk to them, you say, hey man, why don't you own a home? Why don't you, why's your car not paid off? Why have you not started doing the content that you said you were going to do all these years ago? And yeah, oh man, well, I got this. And if it wasn't for that and, my girl, man, and blah, blah. And it's like, all the stuff they're saying is stuff that everybody else deals with. There are people that do, people that don't do. If you find that you're one of the people that don't do, that's not even like it's a permanent thing. You could just stop. You could just stop being a person that doesn't do. You could just start doing. Because once again, I'll say it for the last time, complaining will never help you do anything. There's never been a time in life that anything has ever, that's been of any type of worth, that's been accomplished by someone just sitting around and complaining. Ain't nobody ever built no business off complaining. Ain't nobody ever got no degrees off complaining. Ain't nobody ever started a family off complaining. Ain't nobody ever taken care of their family off complaining. Ain't nobody ever paid off no bills by complaining. Nothing has ever been accomplished by just complaining alone. At some point, you got to stop complaining and put some action behind something. That's how you accomplish things. If you find that you're stuck somewhere and you don't like it, do something about it. Get better. You're on YouTube right now if you're listening to me, which means you have infinite videos where people will teach you how to do the things you don't know how to do. Worst case scenario, you join the Discord server. There are dozens of high-ranked players in there that would love to sit back and look at your VODs and say, hey, here's the things you could be doing. But a lot of people are too proud for that. They don't want to hear the things that they're not doing correctly. They want to be glazed all day long and told, oh, man, I'm so good. Look at me. Look at this play that I just got off. Okay, what about the 40 that you didn't get off? I don't want you to tell me the things I'm doing right. I want you to tell me the things I'm doing wrong. Because those are the things that I need to work on. See, a weakness is only a weakness until you fix it. Then it can become a strength. A lot of people will just, it all starts in their mind. They chop it up to, oh, well, I'm just not good at this particular thing, so that's not what I do. Brother, you're not good at it because you don't do it. That's how everything in life works. No one just comes out the womb and starts writing theses or talking and articulate themselves very well or being good at video games. That does not work for anyone. No, we all have to do things and practice over and over again until we get it. Some people, it takes a little bit longer than others, and that's fine. Who cares? Do you think anyone cares if it took Joe Blow 2 months to get to Celestial or if it took you 6 months to get there? Nobody cares. You got there. You're now part of the club. And if anybody does care, to hell with them. You still did what you set out to do. Simple as that. But that's my motivational talk for the day. That's just something I want to get off my chest because I've been hearing a lot of people, just going back and forth about all of this kind of stuff, and everybody's talking about their placements and, oh, I only won 2 of my placement matches out of 10. Brother, you might be the problem. I'm just keeping it a beam with you. I'm not even that good at the game, and the thing is, if it would have just been on one platform, I might have chopped it up to, oh, well, I just got lucky. Maybe Guang Guang felt bad for me. Whatever. No, you do it back to back on 2 platforms, and the least that I lost was 3 matches. On the other one, damn near had a perfect streak. I'm not even that good at the game. This might be a you issue. It might be. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing that out there. There are exceptions to everything, but for the most part, it probably won't be crazy to just look inward and say, is there something I'm doing? Am I insta-locking Spider-Man and going negative every game and expecting that everything's supposed to just go right for me, and when it doesn't, I complain? Am I insta-locking BP or Iron Fist and selling my team? Am I sitting here trying to play Gambit in ranked matches when I know good and damn well I'm not good enough to play Gambit yet at that kind of level against people that are playing characters they've been playing since release? Sometimes you gotta be honest with yourself, man. There's no shame in that. The shame is sitting back telling people it's everybody else's fault. People looking at you like, yeah, sure, buddy. Okay, yeah, okay. Don't come up with my ranked matches selling though. But, that's all I got for this video though. But as usual, let me know in the comments what you all think. This is not an echo chamber. I say it every video. I'm going to keep saying it because it's not. We don't always have to agree. It's okay for us to agree to disagree. A lot of people out here have different opinions. They have different thoughts. And a lot of times, like I said in the past before, 2 things can be true. I can say something that's true to an extent and to a degree and in certain situations. And then you can say something that can also be true. I can tell you to look inward and you can fix the things within yourself and become a better player. But then also, once again, I can also say the counterpoint to that, which is that there are going to be matches where you are just not going to win. You are not going to win every single match. And that doesn't just apply to this game. It applies to literally every game. There is no one out there that has a perfect 100% win rate all the time in any game, unless they only load in and play a couple of games and get lucky and then never touch the game again. But anyone who consistently, regularly plays a game every day or every couple of days or whatever the case is, you're going to lose. It is just that simple. That is how it works. That is how everything works. I don't care if it's the NBA, the NFL, or a video game, or even a game of rock, paper, scissors. You're going to lose sometimes. But that don't mean you can't try to get as good as you possibly can. So I'm going to wrap it up, though. But let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments, as always. I do appreciate you all for listening. I'm Father Dark, and I'll catch you all in the next one.